Welcome back, everyone. Sorry for the delay getting back up. A little bit late getting the lineups. Gave us a lineup and everybody ran on the field. So it's got to get some things sorted out. But you join us with 2 outs in the top of the first. Morgan Beeler on the mound, in the circle, facing Kaysen Boatner. Morgan threw out Jessica Netto at first for the first out, struck out Maddie Carpenter, and now faces Kaysen Boatner. Run over the scoreboard, so see if we can limit her damage today here in game 2. Bears lost game 1, 8-6. So as we begin game 2, LR stands at 22-8, 7-2 in the conference. Anderson 21-4, 4-1. There's a foul tip strike. And count goes 2-2 with 2 outs here in the top of the second. It's top of the first. Wow, I'm all discombobulated. 2 outs, top of the first. And there's a shot just past the glove of Hannah Jennings into left field. Kendall Osborne makes a play, and with 2 outs, Kaysen Boatner is on again. And Hannah Whitaker stepping to the plate. Whitaker 1 for 4 in game 1. Scored a run on the kind of heartbreaking home run by Morgan Charter. Took a 6-5 lead for Anderson to 8-5, and although the Bears were able to come back and get a run, there's a single to left off the bat of Hannah Whitaker. And with 2 outs now, a couple singles, and Anderson has runner in scoring position with, as I was just mentioning, Morgan Charter coming to the plate. Bears trailed 6-5, as I mentioned, going in the top of the 7th, and had 2 outs, but home run off of Charter's bat made it 8-5. Bears were able to scramble around and get a run in the bottom of the 7th, but left 2 on and ended up falling 8-6. I mentioned it in the first of game 1 if you were watching that one, but if not, and are just joining us, Bears hurt themselves in game 1, left 15 runners on base in that game, losing 8-6. Here's a pitch from Beeler, and that's a strike. Charter, only 1 hit there in game 1, but it was a big one. Top of the 7th home run. There's a ground ball to shortstop, and Mardigan makes the play, and there's out number 3. So, a couple outs, a couple of hits, and then out number 3 for Morgan Beeler as she sets down Anderson here in the top of the first of game 2 of our South Atlantic Conference doubleheader. We'll be right back. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by NBA Roofing. Bottom of the first here, game 2 of our South Atlantic Conference doubleheader. Bears come to plate as Savannah Moorfield pops out to the catcher. One swing, one out. She is frustrated. I could tell that as she walked in the dugout. I don't know if the wind held that up or obviously helped Anderson a little bit there. So, foul ball just behind the plate. And that brings Hannah Jennings to the plate for the Bears. Hannah 0 for 3 in game 1. Did score a run after reaching on an error. And the wind picks up, and as we've had problems with all day, a couple of times infielders and or pitchers have had to kind of step away and make sure the dust isn't getting in their eyes. Lakin Maxwell in the circle for Anderson. Appears to be their ace, 11-3. Well, I guess 12-3 now. She got to win in game 2. In game 1, 1.59 ERA heading into this game. And there's a nice single to center field off the bat of Hannah Jennings. And the Bears have a base runner here in the bottom of the first. Cassidy Wall steps in. Cassidy hitless in game 1. Did walk 3 times and scored a run. Had played some good plays in right field and a couple little exciting plays because the wind's so hard right now. Hadn't really let up from the start. The flags have been active, the trees have been dancing, and we're trying to keep our papers from blowing away. And there's a short foul fly there. It's going to be caught in center. Olivia Wheeler, underneath that one for Anderson, and there's 2 away. Kylie Linhart steps in. Good game for Kylie, 3 for 3. Drove in a run, walked twice, scored a run, so she was on base 5 times in game 1 in 5 plate appearances. Takes ball 1. Maxwell closed out game 2, and she's a pretty good pitcher. She doesn't blow people away, but she moves the ball around, and she has command of the plate and command of her pitches. And I say that, she throws the ball too. Kylie Linhart at the plate. And there's a single left, so 6 plate appearances and 6 times on base for Kylie Linhart. And the Bears with 2 runners on now and 2 outs in the bottom of the first. No score, it's early. As the Bears trying to come back and get a split in this doubleheader. Julie Mardigan steps in with a couple runners on. Mardigan 3 for 5 in game 1. Had a double, a couple RBIs, so she had a good time at the plate there. Pops one up. Is that going to be playable? Yes. Left fielder comes in and makes a grab for out number 3. So the Bears has become a pattern here today. Leave a couple of runners on and don't score here in the bottom of the first. So we're tied 0-0 here. Lenoir-Rhyne Anderson, game 2. We'll be right back. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing.
I'm Rob with Center Street Eats. We're located at 2250 North Center Street in Viewmont. We offer fast dine-in and carry-out service. Usually your prepared meals at lunch from 11 to 3 are ready within 5 minutes. Center Street Eats also offers prepared meals and snacks, protein bars, smoothies, and so much more. We can accommodate most allergy restrictions and can adjust our weekly menu to comply with the most current trending diets like keto and paleo. Street Eats has helped fuel the sports programs at Lenoir-Rhyne for over 10 years now. We work with every program on campus, and we look forward to working with them again.
Lenoir-Rhyne will lead off the top of the second for the Anderson Trojans, facing Morgan Beeler. And there's a ball one. Morgan gave up a couple of 2-out hits in the first. No damage done. Had a strikeout as she gets to the middle of the lineup, and boy, that doesn't happen often. That ground ball got past Hannah Jennings. And Lenoir-Rhyne reaches. And the home scorer counts that as a single. Old school Joe Smith might have said E5, but here we go. So runner on first. Boy, what a catch by, oh my gosh, by Kylie Lennard. She almost had one in game one. Gee whiz. Boy, I tell you what, we talk about her bat a lot, but she is pretty doggone good behind the plate too. What a catch. So one away now, and Olivia Wheeler steps in. Wheeler, center fielder for the Trojans. Did not get a hit in game one, so she's looking for her first time on base today. Hopefully won't come here as she fouls off strike two. Here's pitcher Morgan. Had some movement on it just off the plate, and the count goes to, well, 2-1. Lenoir-Rhyne, Anderson's catcher, on first, and Wheeler went. Makes the count 2-2. Still beautiful. Glad the times changed there before the time change. There, towards the end of our game twos was starting to get a little chilly. And, boy, that's a tough, nice play by Joey Mardigan. That ball just seemed to die off the end of the bat from Wheeler. They're able to get the lead runner. So Wheeler leads on reaches on a fielder's choice. Lenoir-Rhyne out 6-4 at second, so 2 away. And Anderson still has a runner on first as Gracie Williams comes to the plate. Williams had a couple of hits in game one, scored a run, drove in one. So she's had a nice little day so far from the 9-hole. And she takes ball 2 here from Morgan Beeler. Morgan and Lauren, 2 different pitchers, so it makes for a good battery as an opponent goes through one game with Lauren Rakes, a lot more power, a lot more of a strikeout pitcher. And then they get game 2, Morgan, not that she can't strike people out, she's already got one today, but moves the ball around, changes speeds well. It seems to just work on keeping hitters off balance. And there's strike 2. and a frustrated Gracie Williams for Anderson. 2 away here. Runner on first for Anderson. No score. We're early. Just the top of the second. And there's ball 3. If there's one thing Morgan will struggle with here and there, she has walked some people. And, of course, that can get you in a pickle quick. Let's see how she does here. Full count. Runner on first. And there's a slow roller. Morgan's going to make the play, and, boy, threw it low to Laura Beth Wood. She can't get there. It looked like she fell on her arm, and she can't. Boy, and there's a run all the way from first. Laura Beth Wood fell. Looked like she fell awkwardly on her arm. And is she going to ask for timeout? Not sure. She's nodding her head like she's okay, but she went to the ground and it looked like she'd hurt her wrist or something. And Coach Holler's going to make a change. So she's not going to take any chances. Excuse me there. And Laura Beth Wood's going to come out of the game. Looks like it might be Addison Blair at first. See if I can catch a number. And it is Addison Blair, freshman from Hickory. So we'll make that change, and hopefully Laura Beth Wood's okay. So a run scores all the way from first on a throwing error. Morgan Beeler, and Laura Beth Wood just couldn't get up. And there's out number 3. So we'll be right back here with the bottom of the second. Anderson leading 1-0. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by NBA Roofing. Lauren Rakes leads off the bottom of the second for Lenoir-Rhyne. Anderson with a 1-0 lead here. Throwing there by Morgan Beeler, and then Laura Beth Wood went to the ground and didn't get up. Looked like she'd hurt her arm or wrist, and then when she did get up, she was rubbing her wrist, and head coach Sheena Holler didn't really waste any time making a lineup change, and Addison Blair will now be in the game for Laura Beth Wood. And there's strike 1 to Lauren. Lauren 1 for 3. Scored a run back in game 1. And she's facing Lakin Maxwell. And that's ball 3, ball 2. Addison Blair on deck, as I mentioned. She now in for Laura Beth Wood. And there's ball 3 to Lauren Rakes. And she steps back in to face Maxwell. And there's ball 4. So Lauren Rakes trots to first after the walk. And Addison Blair getting some playing time for the freshman from Hickory. Unfortunate circumstances, but good experience. She'll step in to face Lagan Maxwell. Squares the bunt, and it's foul back our way, but a little too far. 4 strike 1. And Yaz Lorena making sure mask is fixed. She'll squat back down, and here's the pitch to Blair. And that's a high fly to left. It's out of our view. And it's a foul. Have a couple of spots on the field we can't see. The left field corner just to the left of the foul post. And the right field corner just a little bit past first base all the way out. So if there's some delay, because we can't see those spots. Blair steps back in, 0-2 the count. And that one's outside, ball 1. A little movement on that one. Maxwell got the win in relief in game 1. And is now starting game 2. That's a high pop to right. And Gracie Williams is able to make the play. 4 out number 1. Leanna Sherrill steps in. Leanna at second base. Senior from West Iredell High School. And she steps in to face Lagan Maxwell. Boy, turned on the inside pitch, and wow, that one got through the screen and off the side of the press box. Bounced back into the crowd. Hadn't seen that happen too often. I think a fan wasn't expecting it either. I wouldn't have been if I was sitting there. Would have thought a ball will never get to me. But it did. Everybody's okay. And Sherrill now with a 1-1 count facing Lakin Maxwell. There's a nice shot to left center. That's going to get to the fence. That's gone. Oh, my goodness. A long home run by Leanna Sherrill. Nice job. And the Bears take a 2-1 lead. Just not sure with the wind today, but, man, she got into that one, and the outfielder started slowing up. They knew it was gone. Nice job for Leanna Sherrill. To check and see if that's her first home run of her career. We'll look real quick. No, heck no. Is the first one since last year. It is her 9th home run of her career. Hit her last 2 came in a doubleheader against Mars Hill. So there you go, Leanna Sherrill. Nice job. Gives the Bears a 2-1 lead. As Maxwell faces Kendall Osborne. No 1 to count. Bears now leading 2-1. There's only 1 out. Maxwell's given up 8 home runs this year. She's kind of stepping off with the wind there. Boy, nice shot by Leanna Sherrill. She had a hit in game 1. And a long home run here in game 2. give the Bears a 2-1 lead. Kendall had 2 hits in the first game. And she takes one inside there. Count goes to 2-2. Bears trying to get a split here. 2 of the top teams in the South Atlantic Conference, in fact, coming into today. Lenoir-Rhyne was ahead leading the conference at 7-1. Carson and Anderson were both 3-1. Of course, Anderson now 4-1 with the Bears at 7-2, but Bears have a chance here to get a split. And there's a swing and a miss, strike 3. Could hear the foul tip, but the catcher held on to the ball for the second out. That gets us back to the top of the order, and Savannah Moorfield steps in. She popped out to the catcher right up near the screen backstop on the first pitch she saw, and she was noticeably not happy with herself as she head back to the dugout. So I imagine she's motivated to make amends here as she faces Maxwell for the second time. And there's strike 1. Savannah 1 for 4 in game 1. Scored a couple of runs, reached on a walk. And here's a pitch. Boy, that's inside, and that got her. Well, Savannah reaches on a hit by a pitch. That's the, is that the third? No, second. Yeah, it's the third for Maxwell. Just in 3 2/3 innings, she hit a batter each in the 6th and 7th of game 1. Now plucks Savannah Moorfield and sends her to first base with 2 outs. Hannah Jennings in. She singled in the first and was stranded. Here's a pitch to Jennings, and not sure if she got a piece of that or not. The wind is really whipping up. It's a little bit dusty. And from where I'm sitting, it looks like it would be right in Lake and Maxwell's face. And how the flags are flying would probably confirm that. So Jennings steps back in, 1-1 to count, 2 outs here. Savannah Moorfield on first. And there's ball 2. Bears lead. We're early on in game 2 of our doubleheader. As the pitch comes from Maxwell. And that's high, ball 3. Be nice to get a little bit going. Help out Morgan Beeler, and of course Leanna Sherrill did her part with a long 2-run shot to left center earlier this inning. Savannah reaches out and can't quite get that one. Count goes to 3-2. Jennings was on the move, so she will, Moorfield is on the move as Jennings steps back in. 3-2 the count. Here's the pitch. And a little pop to the left. Oh, and it's off the shortstop's glove, and it's fair. Wow. She just overran it. And it came back on her. I don't know if that wind had an effect on that or not, but regardless, Jennings now stands at first with Savannah Moorfield on second. And Cassidy Wall coming to the plate. It'll be a tough error on the shortstop. And they're giving Jennings a hit. Here's a pitch to Wall. And there's a little bloop right out of the reach of the third baseman up against the screen for the dugout. And the count 0-1 to Cassidy Wall. Wall low for 2 in game 1, but she did walk 3 times and score a run, so she's been on base. Could use her bat here. And Savannah Moorfield stands on second. And that's inside, ball 1. A little bit dusty again out there, and the wind is not letting up at all. Wall to face Maxwell here, and that's strike 2. Here's a pitch from Maxwell. And foul back our way. Count remains 1-2 to Cassidy Wall. Kylie Linhart on deck. If Wall can reach, which would be nice. As the Bears trying to get a split here against Anderson. And that was in the dirt. Count is now 1-2 to the Bears right fielder. Wall, a freshman from Davidson, North Carolina, and taps that one foul. Just past Coach Holler. And Cassidy will step back in with the same 2-2 count. 2 away here. Bears threatening. 2-run home run from Leanna Sherrill's gotten them on the board. And there's a shot to right. Looks like it's going to be playable, and it is for out number 3. So Cassidy Wall flies out to end of the inning, but not before Leanna Sherrill, senior from West Idle High School, gives the Bears a 2-1 lead, and that's what will take into the top of the third. We'll be right back. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing.
Break great with Carolina West Wireless. Great new phones and a great customer experience, all on our great nationwide high-speed network. Stop by today and get big savings on select Samsung smartphones, like $350 off the Samsung Galaxy S20 and S20 Plus, and $350 off the Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra. The great savings continue with 4 lines of unlimited data for just $35 a month per line. Celebrate great savings and go stay connected wherever your travels take you.
Maddie Carpenter will step in to face Morgan Beeler as we start the third inning here on a beautiful day in Hickory. No clouds, a lot of wind. Crabapple trees look like they're starting to bloom out in left field. And here's a pitch from Morgan. And that's low, ball 2. Andersons can score. So you got to be on every hitter, focused and ready to go, and up calls time. He might have gotten some dust there at home plate up in his face. Kylie certainly did. Here's a pitch from Morgan. And there's a swing and a miss, strike 1. Bears will travel to Wingate on Wednesday for a doubleheader before returning home on next Saturday to face Mars Hill. And that's outside 2 for ball 3. As Maddie Carpenter from right up the road, South Cole High School, stands in. 3-1 count. Maddie struck out in the first and takes ball 4 there. Little encouragement for the umpire from the Bear faithful as Maddie Carpenter trots to first and brings the very dangerous Kaysen Boatner to the plate. Kaysen hit her 13th home run of the year in game 1. And pops one up here. Looks like Blair might have a chance at first, and she does. And she does. So nice job by Addison Blair, freshman from Hickory, who's at first after Laura Beth Wood went to the ground trying to catch a throw from Morgan Beeler and then kind of delayed getting up. It looked like she hurt her arm. She got up and was holding her wrist, and head coach Holler took her out quickly, and that's a drive to center, and Savannah Moorfield's not going to be able to get there. And it's a 3-2 lead now after a home run off the bat of Hannah Whitaker. Wow, that happens quick. So, looks like game 2 might be like game 1, which went back and forth almost the entire game until Anderson built a little bit of a cushion in the top of the 7th and ended up winning 8-6. So Anderson took a 1-0 lead. Bears came back and tied it on a Leanna Sherrill, went ahead by 1 on Leanna Sherrill home run. And now a Hannah Whitaker home run for Anderson has given them a 3-2 lead. Still just 1 out. Morgan Charter steps to the plate. She had the heartbreaking blast in the 7th inning of game 1. Bears trailed 6-5, had the top of their order coming to the plate in the bottom half of the inning, and Charter hit a 2-run home run, and that 3-run cushion was just more than the Bears could absorb. The umpire steps back. It's like Julia Mardigan might have some dust in her face or is trying to avoid that. We've had a lot of moments in these 2 games so far where infielders just all of a sudden raise their hand and turn their back to the plate, and it's been to try to keep the dust out of their face. That's how bad the wind's blowing. Lena Sherrill out there rubbing her eyes now. 1-1 to count to Morgan Charter. 2-run home run by Hannah Whitaker has given Anderson a 3-2 lead, and low throw by Leanna Sherrill, and Blair can't pick it up, and that's an infield hit, but another throwing error for the Bears. Gonna part ways with the official score on some things. And Yaz Lorena steps in, and wow, it was a nice curve. I don't know if that was a wind-aided curve or what, but that ball moved and unfortunately moved off the plate. So Beeler steps back to try to gather herself a little bit. 1 out, 1 on, and Yaz Lorena, the catcher, Anderson catcher, at the plate. That was low in the dirt, ball 2. Morgan asks Kylie to come out, chat for a moment. Just need to make sure we're on the same page or if she's seeing something. And kind of lengthy as Kylie trots back. And the wind picks up again to dead center. Beeler, 2-0 count now to Lorena. And there's strike one for Morgan. 3-2 Anderson lead. We're in the top of the third in our South Atlantic Conference doubleheader, game 2. Here's a pitch from Morgan. And there's a swing and a miss. It was off the plate, and Lorena bit. Now the count 2-2. Morgan Charter at first, following a throwing error. And there's strike 3. Nice job by Morgan Beeler there as she gets the strikeout for out number 2. That brings Sydney Belcher to the plate for the Trojans. Belcher in left field. She was the victim of an incredible catch behind the plate by Kylie Lenoir back in the second. Won't see a better play from a catcher. And Belcher steps in with 0-1 count. And there's a slow roller to Sherrill. And she will go to first for the out. Looked like she might have been able to tag the runner. Doesn't matter either way. The inning is over. But not before a 2-run home run by Hannah Whitaker gives Anderson the lead back at 3-2. We'll head to the bottom of the third. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bear Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing.
I knew that there was an opportunity to have my college paid for if I was good enough to play baseball at that level. That was going to make a big difference in my family. D2 baseball gave me an opportunity to play at a high level and to get an education that's going to be valuable for me throughout the rest of my life. I chose to take my experience of being a student athlete and pursue that within my career and to get a master's degree. If I wouldn't have had a baseball scholarship, there'd be no chance that I'm doing what I'm doing today.
Kylie Linhart steps in to lead off the bottom of the third for the Bears. Bears trailing 3-2 as Lakin Maxwell steps back a little bit. And now seems ready, the pitcher for Anderson. And she'll face Lenoir-Rhyne's all-time home run leader, Kylie Linhart. Had one against Queens, which was her 47th. And she surpassed Sarah Atkins-Cook as the all-time leader. And here's the pitch. And that's ball 2. Another home run hitter of note I see in Bear stands today, Kat Rivers. Hall of Fame shortstop, and she had a few out of this park herself. 3-0 the count now to Linhart. Maxwell closed out game 1 for Anderson, but hit a couple of batters. She's already got one hit batter here. And a 3-1 count to Kylie Lenhart. Kylie singled in the first inning and was stranded. That single was her 6th time on base out of 6 plate appearances today. She's trying to keep that streak alive here, but the count's run full with no outs here in the top of the 3rd. And she pops it up. It's going to be playable for the third baseman. She had to move around a little bit for that ball. And that's one away, and Kylie Lenhart's 6-for-6 streak ends as Julia Mardigan steps in. Julia flew out to left field to end the first, so she'll face Lakin Maxwell for the second time. There is strike 1. Busy first part of the day here at Lenoir-Rhyne. Softball was playing right next to us on the other side of the street. There was a track meet, and just past that, baseball was playing Anderson. That is continuing. I imagine they're in game 2 as well. Didn't get the score of game 1. If I do, I'll share it with you. Of course, Bears baseball has been on quite the roll here this year so far. And after that slow start, softball team has as well. Pretty tough loss here in game 1, so hopefully can come back and get a split here. 1-2 the count. And there's a pitch from Maxwell. Mardigan turns on it. Foul just past the visitor bullpen. And Mardigan will step back in. Here's a pitch from Maxwell. And a little pop to right. Looks like it's going to be playable, and it is for out number 2. So 2 away, and Lauren Rakes will step in. Lauren walked and is set to lead off the second, then scored on a long home run by Leanna Sherrill, which at the time gave the Bears a 2-1 lead. Home run from Hannah Whitaker by Anderson. As Anderson now back on top, and the umpire calls time. Jessica Neto, second baseman for the Trojans, had a little trouble with more wind-blown dirt. And that's been one of the stories of the game. Strike 1 to Lauren Rakes. 2 outs here, bottom of the 3rd. And there's ball 1. You know it's close. Catcher's a little bit delayed throwing it back to the pitcher because I think they just want to hold it and say, You sure about that? There's a strike. And the count's 1-2 to Lauren Rakes. Addison Blair on deck. But Lauren will have to reach for Addison to get the shot here in this inning. And that one's off the plate. Count goes full. Or is that 2-2? 2-2. And that's full. Maxwell fighting off the dust herself out there. It's been a problem. There's been a number of times a day that play's been stopped so players can kind of turn their back to the wind. Full count here to Rakes, and that's off the plate, ball 4. So second walk for Lauren here in game 2. And Addison Blair will step in. Addison flew out to right in her first at bat. She pinch hit back in game 1 and is in the game here playing first after a hopefully not too serious mishap for Laura Beth Wood. And she tried to make a play on a low throw at first. Fell to the ground, looked like she was holding her arm, and got up and it was her wrist. And Coach Holler made a move as a precaution, I guess. Hopefully not any type of bad injury. Addison Blair is getting a chance to get some experience here against a pretty good pitcher in Lakin Maxwell. And boy, that was a shot to left, but it's back in the visitor bullpen. And the count now 1-1 to Addison Blair. And the ball got thrown in. So the umpire calls time. Puts one back in his pouch. We return to action. 1-2 the count on Addison Blair. 2 outs. Lauren rakes it first for Lenoir-Rhyne. And that one's off the plate ball too. Three-two, Anderson leads. We're in the bottom of the third. And that's inside. Count goes full. So Lauren will take off first base as Blair steps in to face Lakin Maxwell. She looks in the dugout 2 or 3 times, subsequently also to the wristband, and here's the pitch. And that's foul back. Nice cut by Blair. It's got a piece of it. So she stays alive, and Lauren Rakes will walk back to first and do it all over again. Sun's starting to set a little bit. Might start being some trouble there around first, second, right field. And that's high, ball 4. So second walk of the inning for Maxwell after 2 quick outs. And Leanna Sherrill steps in. Sherrill, I'm sure Maxwell will remember, hit a long home run to left center. It has accounted for both bare runs to this point. And she's got a chance with some runners on base to do some more damage. Swing and a miss there, though. Might have been ball 1. But nonetheless, Lynn had a hit in game 1. And no doubt about it, homer here in the second inning. 0-1 to count, 2 outs. Here's the pitch. And there's another long fly ball that is going to get out of play back into the Anderson bullpen. And everybody goes back to their respective bases. Lauren Rakes at second. Addison Blair at first. And Maxwell will pitch to Leanna Sherrill. And there's a swing and a miss. She pulled a string on that one and got Leanna crossed up for strike number 3. So the Bears, a couple runners on, not able to push one across. And we'll head to the top of the 4th with Anderson leading 3-2. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by NBA Roofing.
NCAA Division II, community engagement is an initiative at all 25 national championships because student athletes want to give back while competing for a national title. Over the course of the year, Division II student athletes have an opportunity to leave a lasting impression in local communities throughout the country. Whether Division II student athletes are volunteering at hospitals, schools, after-school care programs, foster homes, or retirement villages, they make a difference in the lives of others. In Division II, we rise to the opportunity and make community engagement ours.
Livy Wheeler steps in to lead off the top of the fourth for Anderson. She reached on the fielder's choice in the second and ended up scoring on an error. She will try to reach here again as Morgan Beeler comes in with strike one, and the count now 1-1. Morgan hadn't pitched bad. She's hadn't had a lot of help. She's had some mishaps in the field. Of course, one of them was her own. And here's the pitch. And a ground ball off the glove of Hannah Jennings. And a low throw by Leanna Sherrill. Hasn't helped matters. And that's a foul ball back towards the maintenance shed. And the count's 3-1. Bears trying to get a split here. Anderson won game one, 8-6. And a pretty exciting back and forth game there up until right at the end. 3-2 the count now against Olivia Wheeler. Morgan tries to dig in and get the first out here in the top of the fourth. Here's the pitch. And that's inside, ball four. So leadoff walk for Anderson as Olivia Wheeler has trotted to first, and Gracie Williams steps in. Gracie reached on an error back in the top of the second. And that was the play that Laura Beth Wood went down and looked like she hurt her wrist and was taken out as Addison Blair has replaced her. 3-2, Anderson leading. And there's a square for a bunt, and that's strike number 2. So Williams, unsuccessful so far, trying to advance Olivia Wheeler. Finds herself in a no-2 count as Morgan Beeler checks the wristband, and here's the pitch. And that's a little high, ball one. And there's a swing and a miss. Nice job by Morgan Beeler. She gets Gracie Williams on strikes for the first out here. Jessica Neto steps in. Part of a 1-2 punch for Anderson. Neto and Boatner, although they don't hit right next to each other in the lineup. Between the two of them, they have 23 home runs this year. But as we've seen, they've got other people that can hit it out of the park. Nice play by Hannah Jennings. She'll get the lead runner at first. At second. No chance to get Neto at first. And Wheeler's out. 5-4 with Neto reaching on a fielder's choice. That brings Maddie Carpenter to the plate. She walked and scored on the home run from Hannah Whitaker. That was back in the third and gave Anderson their 3-2 lead. Carpenter homered in the first inning of game one. So she's had a nice little homecoming here in Hickory. Maddie played high school ball right up the road here at South Caldwell, just across the river. And she has an 0-1 count as she faces Morgan Beeler. Here's a pitch from Morgan. That's in dirt. Neto thought about it. I wouldn't test Kylie Linhart's arm too often. She gets it down there. Very good all-around player. As we mentioned, a great play in the second inning. She's a good catcher. And there's a swing and a miss for strike two. So Morgan, one strike away of ending the top half of the fourth here. But she's got a tough hitter in Maddie Carpenter. And just gets a piece of it, fouls it back. And the umpire tosses it to Kylie, who gives it to Morgan, and we'll do it again. 1-2 the count. 2 outs. Bears trail 3-2. Morgan Beeler can. Yeah, so there's a shot to right center. And that's going to be, they're going to send her. There's not a play at the plate. Not sure, the ball is a little bit up the line. So Neto scores. Kylie wasn't able to hang on to it, but like I said, I think Neto maybe would have gotten past her anyway. Not a bad throw from Cheryl. But crosses another run. Another run crosses for Anderson on the double by Maddie Carpenter. So she is enjoying her trip home today. And that one gets by Kylie Linhart, and Carpenter will trot to third. Kason Boatner stands in. She's trouble in her own right. Hit her 13th home run of the year back in game one. Singled here in game two in the first. So she has 3 hits on the day. And I believe 3 RBIs. And there's a swing and a miss for strike two. One and two the count. 2 outs here. We're in the top of the fourth. Anderson leading 4-2. And there's a little pop-up. Looks like Blair's going to have an opportunity at it, and she does for out number 3. But another run crosses for Anderson as they take a 4-2 lead with the Bears coming to bat in the bottom of the fourth. We'll be right back here listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing.
Being a champion takes more than talent, more than the perfect pass, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the spirit to always push harder, the ability to overcome any hurdle, and the fire to be the best. Welcome to Division II, where the pursuit is yours to create. And the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you?
And welcome back, everyone. Joe Smith here bringing you the action. My partner, Malik Ellis, doing all the important stuff with the equipment. You're able to watch the game thanks to Malik and hear me, whether you like it or not, also thanks to Malik, but don't hold that against him. Bears trail 4-2. Kendall Osborne steps in to face Lakin Maxwell. And there's a swing and a miss. Hate to mention it, but the undoing for the Bears in game one was that they left 15 runners on base. 15. They have already left 6 on base here through 3 innings. They've gotten some timely hits and scored runs, but they're not getting maybe all the hits they need when they got an opportunity. Osborne takes it high. Count goes to 1-2. Kendall struck out in the second. She leads off here in the bottom of the fourth. Here's a pitch from Maxwell, and that's fouled back this way. Count stays at 1-2. Wind's still a part of this game. 1-2, no outs, and that one's off the plate. Count goes to 2-2. Bears need to try to keep pace on the scoreboard because, as we've seen, Anderson can hit it. You don't want to get too many runs down as we get into the middle innings here. Maxwell looks at the wristband. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and that's a fly to right. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and that's a fly to right. Can't see the right fielder, but evidently it was called. That's one of the blind spots we have up here in the box. But one away now as Kendall Osborne flies out to right. We'll go back to the top of the order, and Savannah Moorfield. Savannah popped out to the catcher in the first. Was hit by a pitch in the second, but stranded there. And takes strike one here. Moorfield, a graduate student from Claudeville, Virginia. She has played a lot of softball for the Bears. Excellent center fielder. Good at the plate. A lot of speed. Good base runner. Just has been, as good an all-around player as we've had in a while. Of course, we've had a lot of good all-around players. And the championships will bear that out. And that gets to the fence. Moorfield's going to come to third. And the second baseman can't come up with the throw. And it's a triple for Savannah Moorfield. Boy, she got around the base paths pretty doggone quick. I'm not sure if they'd have had a clean relay if they'd have gotten her. She's got such long strides. And she got that ball past the right fielder over there in the right field corner, and she was off to the races. One out. Bears with a runner on third now, and Hannah Jennings at the plate. Hannah had a single in the first. Reached in the second on a, not sure if it's a single or an error. Scorekeeper and I differ, so we'll give her a single because that's what the scoreboard has. And she got a chance to get an RBI here. 1-1 to count. Maxwell come in with impressive stats, but she hasn't been dominant by any stretch. There's a high fly to center. It's probably going to get Moorfield home. And here's the throw to the plate, and Savannah slides in pretty easily, and the Bears have cut the lead to 4-3. So sack fly by Jennings. To center field, and that brings Cassidy Wall up. Cassidy looking for her first hit today. She did walk 3 times in game 1. And there's a fly ball to left. Somebody's going to have a chance at it, but it's just past the glove of the shortstop, and good heads-up base running by Cassidy Wall, and there you go. I mentioned the error of single question. There's been some hard plays to judge out there. Certainly the shortstop had an opportunity at that, but the wind's blowing so hard, kind of wonder, how do you judge that? I imagine. Well, they count that as an error. So Wall reaches on an E6. And now stands on second with 1 out, and Kylie Linhart coming to the plate. Kylie singled in first. Flew out to the third baseman. Back in the third. She's got a chance to drive in a run here. And there's the ball high. See, there's been a little more animation today with all the different pitchers, both teams. Dugouts, catchers, batters at some of the ball and strike calls. But it's easy to be an umpire when it's not your job. 2-1 to count now. Kylie Linhart. Cassie Wall stands at second. And that one kind of rose up. That was an interesting pitch. But it was a ball. And Linhart now has the advantage, 3-1 count. And here's the pitch from Maxwell. And there's a fly. She just got under, looks like. That looks like it's going to be playable. And there's out number 3. So a long, high fly ball off the bat of Kylie Linhart. Bears do get a run to pull within 4-3, and that's the score that we'll take into the top of the 5th. We'll be right back. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing.
Being a champion takes more than skill, more than endless drills, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the heart to give it your all, the agility to thrive from any angle, and the relentless drive to be the best. Welcome to Division 2, where the pursuit is yours to create, and the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you?
And welcome back. Top of the fifth here. Bears trail 4-3 as they face Anderson. Anderson, 22nd ranked team in the country. After game one, stand at 21-4, 4-1, and there's a ground ball base hit past the shortstop and third baseman for Hannah Whitaker. Whitaker had a 2-run home run in the third to give Anderson a 3-2 lead. They extended that to 4-2 before the Bears scored a run on a triple by Savannah Moorfield and a sac fly. So we go to the top of the fifth. And now Morgan Charter at the plate. Charter is 1 for 2. Had the home run in the top of the seventh that kind of sealed the Bears' fate in game one. There's a nice play by Mark Deegan. Every ball that gets up in the air is kind of an adventure for whoever's in the field. And that's not an exaggeration. So one away. And that brings Jazz Lorena to the plate. Lorena singled in the first, struck out. Well, no, there's been a change. And looks like Hope Gullett will come in. Hope started game one behind the plate. Lorena took her place towards the end of game one, and now Gullett will stand in after replacing Lorena. So Gullett will bat here with a runner on in the top of the fifth. One away. Morgan Beeler still in the circle for the Bears. Hadn't pitched poorly. It's just a tough lineup. And there's ball two. Just off the plate. Food truck back here today has a lot of things, but I think they mostly have wings. And after a game and a half, I've pretty much decided I'm going to eat wings tonight for dinner because I've had to smell them all day, and they smell good. Two and two the count now to Hope Gullett. And there's a swing and a miss. And strike three for Morgan Beeler. That is her fourth of the game. So two away now. Hannah Whitaker still at first. Sydney Belcher steps in. She was out on an incredible play behind the plate by Kylie Linhart in the second. And then grounded out to second back in the third. And take strike one here from Morgan Beeler. Be nice for Morgan to get out of this inning without a run. And there's another Dust Bowl event that stops play. It's Leanna Sherrill. Umpire's asking her if it's okay. They're getting a chuckle out there. It's just kind of randomly stopped quite a few times today just because of the wind and the dust. 1-1 to count as Morgan Beeler faces Olivia Wheeler. Sydney Belcher. Got him ahead of myself in the scorebook. And here's the pitch. And that's in the dirt, ball two. Bears travel to Wingate on Wednesday for a doubleheader there. And return home next Saturday to host Mars Hill. And curveball off the plate. Count goes to 3-1. Bears are pretty much back and forth, home and away, until we get right towards the end of the season. They have 4 straight doubleheaders at home, so that's a nice place to be at the end of the year. Bears 14-1 at home this year. Of course, that one being game 1 of this doubleheader, so they've had nice home field advantage. There's a little pop-up. Looks like Beeler's going to grab it, and she does for out number 3. So, after the leadoff single, Morgan Beeler gets Anderson 1-2-3, and we'll head to the bottom of the 5th with the Bears trailing 4-3. We'll be right back. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network.
Everett Chevrolet Buick GMC is ready for another exciting football season. Everett has been a proud sponsor of the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears for 25 years, and we wish the Bears a safe and successful season. And August means it's all systems go for another winning season with the Carolina Panthers. We have a tradition of winning in the Carolinas, and when you want to be a winner in the car, truck, or SUV game, come see the sales and service champions at Everett, because if you didn't get an Everett deal, you dropped the ball, baby. Woo!
And Julie Mardigan will lead off for the Bears against Lake and Maxwell. Maxwell 11-3 coming into today. The win, I believe, in game 1, and has gone the distance here in game 2. 1.59 ERA. Has not been overpowering. Bears have 5 hits and 4 walks. There's a shot to center. Is that going to stay in? And it's off the wall. But Mardigan, boy, nice play off the wall by the center fielder out there. That's Olivia Wheeler. And Mardigan is held to a long single. I think everybody just kind of waited to see if it was going to go out. Looked like it came off the upper part of the fence out there. Center fielder held up, I guess, to stay away from the fence, but also probably to see if it was going to go out. Sure looked like it was going to. And with all that wind, good grief, didn't help Julia Mardigan. So probably the longest single of the day. And the Bears have a runner on first here to lead off the bottom of the 5th. As I was saying, 5 hits, now 6 for the Bears, and 4 walks from Maxwell through 4. But once again, as the unfortunate kind of story for the day, Bears have left 22 runners on base, 15 in game 1, 7 here in game 2. So you can absorb some of that, but eventually you got to push some of those across. Here's a swing and a miss against Lauren Rakes. And it's a 1-2 count for the junior from East Wilkes High School. Julie Mardigan on first. And here's the pitch. And there's a swing and a miss. And strike 3. Scoreboard was sure it was 2 strikes either. So Lauren Rakes goes down on strikes, and Addison Blair steps in. Addison replaced Laura Beth Wood in the 2nd after Wood took a tumble on a play in the field and came up holding her wrist. So Coach Holler didn't take any chances. And Addison Blair has stepped in, done a good job at first base. Had a walk back in the 3rd. And here's the pitch from Maxwell. And there's a strike 2. Anna Sherrill on deck. She had a big blast for the Bears so far here in game 2. And Hopes to get a chance here. And off the plate, ball one. So 1-2 the count to Addison Blair. Here's a pitch from Maxwell. And pulled a string there, but a little bit high. And the count goes to 2-2. Anderson leads 4-3. We're in the bottom of the fifth. So time's starting to move away. Long fly ball for Blair. And she's battling and stays alive. Count 2-2. Maxwell gets the signal from the dugout, and that's pitch high now. Count 3-2. So Blair, patient and battling, has run the count full with Julie Mardigan at first and one out. And that's ball four. So good eye, good patience by Blair. She draws her second walk of the day. And the Bears have runners on first and second with Leanna Sherrill stepping in. Sherrill had a hit in game one. Of course, the long home run here out to left center. And it was a no-doubter. Could use another one of those now. Base hit would be fine. And there's strike one. And Leanna tips her head back, and that one's sort of nice curve. Breaking pitch from Maxwell. I think Leanna knew it. 0-1, one out. Bears have runners on first and second. And there's a long fly to left. That's going to get past the left fielder into the fence. Mardigan will score easily. Blair slides into third, and Leanna Sherrill, boy, nice day, young lady. That's an RBI double, and the Bears tie it up at 4. She had struggled at the plate a little bit. Wasn't playing as much before Caitlin Racker got hurt. And started, has now been the regular second baseman for quite a few games here. And she has had a nice day at the plate today. Has been really solid at second all along. But single in game one. RBI double here in game two to go along with a 2-run home run. So the Bears now one out and runners on second and third. And there's a pinch hitter that we need to check on here, if I can keep my papers from blowing away. That is Taylor Beard. We'll pinch hit for Kendall Osborne. Taylor's first plate appearance today. And she takes strike one. Beard hitting .250. Only has played in 5 games though. So not a great body of work at the plate, but swings and gets a piece of that one. Count is now 0-2. Leaves stuck on the screen and everything. Dust blowing out to right. And the sun is starting to set, and see it's going to be a problem there on that side of the field the further it goes down. Boy, there's a shot just past Coach Holler there down the third baseline, foul. And it counts 0-2. Bears 2 on with 1 out. Savannah Moorfield on deck as Taylor Beard steps in. Now she shows bunt. And pulls it back and swings, gets a piece of it and stays alive. So count remains 0-2 as Beard is battling here against Lake and Maxwell. Addison Blair at third. Leanna Sherrill at second. RBI double. Got her there. And she's driven in 3 of the Bears' 4 runs today. And there's a nice play in left for Anderson. Sydney Belcher runs in to make the grab, and 2 away now. And we'll head to the top of the order with Savannah Moorfield. Savannah tripled last time up and scored a run. And boy, I tell you what, I'm a fan of triples. They're just an exciting moment in softball and baseball. To see that runner go from home to third, because the ball's still in the park somewhere. Pretty exciting. And Savannah got around there pretty quick. Back in the fourth. Swing and miss here. 2 away. She's got a chance to push a couple runners off. Bears have left a lot of runners on base today. Sure would be nice to get a hit here. And there's another swing and a miss. So quickly now Savannah Moorfield in the count in the hole 0-2. 2 outs. Bears with runners on second and third. Could really use a hit with runners in scoring position. And just gets a piece of that one and comes off the mask of, well, they've changed catchers again. As it looks like Yaz Lorena is back in the game. Here's the pitch. And just reaches out. That looks like it's going to make it foul, and it does. And Savannah stays alive. This will be a tough spot for the Bears if they can't push one across here. Second and third, getting late in the game. One of your best hitters at the plate. And that's outside finally for ball 1. Savannah's got to be pretty defensive up there, you know, at 0-2, but that one was clearly off the plate. And here's the pitch. And did she go? Yes, she did. Strike 3. Boy, that one's a tough one right there. And the Bears go down in the bottom of the 5th. Run scores on an RBI double by Leanna Sherrill, but the Bears leave 2 more on base. And we will head to the top of the 6th with the game tied 4-4. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing.
Love being busy in my garden. I got flowers to plant and beds to clean out. When I was feeling really tired and not like myself, I saw a doctor. Look at me now. The doctors were good, they worked with me, and they laughed with me. I'm back to doing everything I love. I needed a doctor, and I found the expert for my heart.
And Morgan Beeler will face Olivia Wheeler to lead off the correction. I think they have a pinch hitter in. They do. That is 00 Maggie Massey. So she's batting for Olivia Wheeler. And there's a shot to right that Cassie Wall plays easily and quickly, 1 away for Morgan Beeler here in the top of the 6th. There's a discussion on whether or not the game might go extra innings. I say the Bears win the bottom of the 7th. We'll see. Here's the pitch from Beeler. And swing and a miss. Strike one. A little selfish on my part. The Lenoir-Rhyne graduate Rick Barnes, LR Hall of Famer, led Tennessee Volunteers. Play, I think, around 5:30. I'm seeing our great Bear basketball coach in action in the NCAA tournament. And there's a swing and a miss, strike two. However, if it takes extra innings to win it, then let's just go win it. One away here. We're in the top of the 6th. And Gracie Williams at the plate. Counts now 1-2. As I mentioned, sun's starting to set. So second, first base, depending on the angle, right field. Sun could play a factor here late. And that's a ball low. 4-2. So poor Cassidy Wall and her counterpart from Anderson, who happens to be Gracie Williams at the plate. In addition to battling the wind, they're going to have some sun issues here late in game 2. Ball gets in the dirt past Kylie. And he counts full. And his plate umpire dusts the plate off a little bit. And the 3-2 count. Here's the pitch from Morgan. And nice pitch. Broke away from the plate. Gracie Williams able to stay alive. Could use a 1-2-3 from Morgan. Bears have top of their lineup 2, 3, 4, 5 coming up in the bottom half of the 6th. If we can keep the score tie, it'd be a great opportunity to score a run there. Of course, Anderson has their own hitters. Came into this series, this doubleheader, batting .339 as a team, and they haven't really shed any doubt that those statistics are accurate. They're pretty good at the plate. Foul ball off the bat of Williams. And the count now 3-2. With a dangerous hitter, Jessica Neto, on deck. Here's a pitch to Williams. And that's way high and away, and that's ball 4. So Williams reaches for the second time. Reached on a error back in the second. And a walk here. It's top of the order. Jessica Neto steps in. Grounded out to Morgan. Back in the first. Line shot to Hannah Jennings at third. And reached on a fielder's choice and scored in the 4th. Off a double by Maddie Carpenter, who stands on deck. One away here. And there's strike one to Neto. Gracie Williams at first. Here's a pitch from Morgan. And just a little nubber to second. Leanna Sherrill will make the play and get the runner at first. Nice job. It was a slow roller. Leanna had to get the ball and get rid of it pretty quick. And does. Gracie Williams reaches second on a 4-3. And that brings up Maddie Carpenter. She of South Caldwell High School right up the road, and she has had quite the day for Anderson at the plate. RBI double in this game. Long home run and RBI double in game 1. She is 3 for 4 on the day. A couple of walks, 3 RBIs. Just a freshman. Kylie takes one there, and umpire gives her a little time to get things sorted out. 0-2 the count to Carpenter. Anderson with a runner on second. We got a tie ball game here, 4-4 in the top of the 6th. So runs here really important. And keeping runs from scoring is really important too. And that's where Morgan finds herself. 2 outs though. Here's the pitch. And there's a little slow roller to third, picked up by Jennings, and she gets the ball to first. And that's a nice play by Addison Blair to get out number 3. So a little bit of excitement there on the scoop and throw, but no damage as the Bears keep Anderson off the board again. And we'll take a tie ball game, 4-4, into the bottom half of the 6th. You will be right back. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bear Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing.
Hickory's Hometown Jeweler celebrates our hometown teams, college sweethearts. These couples met and fell in love in Hickory and have been together ever since. For the past 38 years, we've helped our clients celebrate a lot of milestones, and stories like these are some of our favorites. Bring your love back to where it all began. Show your college sweetheart the past as you look together to the future, and let us help you start your future here at Oz's Jewelers.
Hannah Jennings will lead off for the Bears. Tie ball game here, bottom of the 6th, so time's running short. Bears have a good opportunity here. 2, 3, and 4 batters start the inning off. And Jennings takes strike 1. The count goes to 1-1. And with a couple of hits today, also had a RBI sacrifice fly in the 4th. And there's a fly ball to left center. And Olivia Wheeler is able to make the catch for Anderson. And there's one away. That brings Cassidy Wall to the plate. Cassidy originally looked like it had reached on an error back in the 6th, but I think they changed that to a hit. I'll have to go back and check. We'll leave it alone for now as Cassidy takes strike 1 from Lakin Maxwell. Maxwell's just worked her way through so far, and there's a ground ball to short that's scooped, and the throw is in time for out number 2. That brings Kylie Linhart to the plate. Kylie 1 for 3 here in game 2. 3 for 3 with her in game 2. 3 for 3 with a couple of walks in game 1. So at one point today, she had reached in 6 straight plate appearances. That ended back in the 3rd. And she's looking for a hit here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th. And there's strike 1. So 1-1 to count. 2 outs. And the tie score 4-4. Here's a pitch to Kylie. And foul back our way. And count goes to 1-2. That's off the plate from Maxwell. And the count's 2-2. Bears on the road Wednesday at Wingate. Conference doubleheader and return here next Saturday to host Mars Hill. And there's a shot foul. Count remains 2-2. Athletic Director Kim Pate checking things out. Here's the pitch. And there's a ground ball just past the shortstop for a base hit for Lindhart. And a 2-out single. And the Bears trying to get something going here. Kylie's second hit of the game 2. And that'll bring Julia Mardigan to the plate. Mardigan has a couple of home runs this year, along with 7 doubles. Maybe 8. I think she had one back in game 1. So she can drive the ball. And we could use that right here with a tie score in the bottom of the 6th. Mardigan, a freshman from Mechanicsville, Virginia. Swing and a miss there, and the count goes to 1-1. Kylie Lindhart stands on first. Bears need a run to take the lead with a 4-4 score here. Here's a pitch from Maxwell. And Mardigan gets a piece of it, fouls it back to the screen. Count goes to 1-2. Lawn rakes on deck if Mardigan can reach. 1-2 count. Here's a pitch from Maxwell. Ooh, and that's high. Ball 2. Getting late in the day. Been some good softball. Good offense today. And there's a line shot off of Maxwell. They're going to be able to get Mardigan at first. Yes, they are. Wow. Maxwell took a shot. Imagine they'll check and see if she's okay. She's got a smile on her face and trotting in. Gee whiz. So, hard hit ball by Mardigan, but results in an out. As we'll head to the top of the 2nd in a tie ball game between the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears and Anderson Trojans. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing.
Cordell Harris Insurance Agency, a family-owned and operated business serving the Hickory area since 1981, where we strive to take care of you and your den like family. As an independent insurance agency, we offer a vast spectrum of coverage for your commercial and personal insurance needs with our extensive network of providers. Cordell Harris Insurance Agency is a proud sponsor of Lenoir-Rhyne Athletics. Protect your den with Cordell Harris. Go Bears!
And we start the 7th inning with a tie ball game here. Morgan Beeler in the circle for the Bears as she will face Kaysen Boatner. That is not an easy first batter in any inning, much less in a tie ball game in the 7th inning. Strike one to Boatner. She's singling to first. And hits a slow dribbler there, and that's not going to be able to. The poor throw by Hannah Jennings, and Boatner will trot into second base. Don't think they would have gotten her anyway. So we'll say infield single with the E5 getting her to second. And that will bring Hannah Whitaker to the plate. Whitaker, 3 for 3 here in game 2. Big shot was a 2-run homer back in the 3rd. And with no outs and a runner on second, Morgan Beal will have to tighten up. So that wasn't her fault. And that's ball one. Deep sigh from Morgan after that one. And she stepped back to kind of gather herself, and Whitaker runs over to chat with the Anderson coach. Excuse me, a little yawn there, sorry. Been staying up too late watching basketball. My opinion, the best sports weekend of the year. Thursday through Sunday. First couple of rounds of the NCAA tournament. Mix in some LR softball and baseball going on. Had a track meet here earlier today. There's been a lot of sports. It's been a pretty nice weekend to have it. And it's in the dirt ball too. And Whitaker at the plate. Kaysen Boatner at second, following a throwing error, and scores tied with no outs. And there's a long shot to right center. Moorfield can't get there. Boatner had to hold up in case Moorfield caught the ball. Nice throw by Leanna Sherrill. Didn't look like Boatner was going anyway. But all of a sudden now, there are runners on second and third and nobody out. And that's a pickle for Morgan Beeler. Morgan Charter will step in. She's 1 for 3 and hit a heartbreaking home run in the 7th back in game 1. Oh no, I can't believe I said that. There's ball 1. We're in the 7th again, and Charter at the plate with runners on second and third. I would rather she not be a hero twice today. But she certainly has that chance. And there's a fly ball off to the right. Can't tell if it's going to be out of play, and it's foul. Addison Blair ran over and gave it a look. Couldn't get there. Along with Leanna Sherrill. And it counts 1-1. Tough spot here for Morgan Beeler. She's got to tighten the screws a little bit. And that one's low. Count 2-1. With the sun going down, starting to get a little chilly. Beautiful day in Hickory, though. A few clouds starting to roll in, but man, was it nice. Could use a little less wind. There's a one hopper tough to Leanna Sherrill. She holds the runner at third. Nice job. And gets the first out. Good job by Leanna Sherrill there. It's a pretty tricky hop, it looked like. She had the wherewithal to make sure Boatner stayed where she was and got the out at first for one away. This is He has Lorena, the catcher, for Anderson. Hope Galat, pinch hit for back in the 5th inning. Lorena singled in the 2nd, struck out in the 3rd. And she's the next in line for Anderson to try to push a run across and take the lead. Good job for Morgan, get that out. And there's a strike one. Four runs, 9 hits, and an error for Anderson. 4 runs, 8 hits, 2 errors for the Bears. And after all this softball, we get to the 7th. And the most critical time in a tie ball game. 1-2 the count. Sydney Belcher on deck for the Trojans as Lorena steps in, and that ball's a little high and outside ball too. Morgan steps out, gets some dirt on her hand there. 2-2 count. Lorena steps in. And here's the pitch from Morgan. And that's off to the right, and I will call that one foul. Even though I can't see down through there much. Fan retrieves it over there on the other side of the Bears bullpen. Sun dropped behind a little cloud, darkened up a little bit. 2-2, 1 out. Anderson has runners on 2nd and 3rd. Here's the pitch to Lorena. And that's away, ball 3. So full count now to the Trojans catcher with Sydney Belcher on deck. And Morgan Beeler trying to stem the tide here. Get out number 2. Here's the pitch. And that's ball 4. So bases loaded now. And Sydney Belcher steps in. And head coach Sheena Holler will step out to the circle to meet with the infield. Make sure everybody knows what's going on and what we need to do with 1 out. You also have to corners, you got to come home. Try to keep that run off the board. Gets up the middle. If you feel like you can turn a double play on a ground ball, you got to try that too. But a tough spot. For the Bears. Tie ball game, top of the 7th. But Anderson has the bases full with Sydney Belcher stepping in. Here's the pitch, and there's a shot foul. Off to the right. Gets up on the roof of the art building, and let's see if it's going to roll back. It's trying to. Coach Holler making sure infield alignment's where she'd like it to be. And here's a pitch to Belcher. That's low ball 1. One and 1 to count. Bases loaded. Nowhere to put Belcher. Here's the pitch, and there's a swing and a miss. Nice pitch by Morgan. She pulled a string on that, and Belcher was way out in front. Good job there. And 1 and 2. Now the count. Here's the pitch from Morgan. And a little off the plate. Count goes to 2 and 2. Bears trying to salvage a split here. In a pickle, though, as that's ball 3. So the count runs full, and there's nowhere really to put Sydney Belcher. So this is a big pitch, maybe the pitch of the game for Morgan. And that's low, ball 4. So Belcher draws a walk and gets a pretty easy RBI as Kaysen Boatner trots in from third. And Anderson leads 5-4. Olivia Wheeler will step in. Olivia had exciting time in center field today, as have all the outfielders. Although for the first time today, the flags, well, as soon as I say that, they're back at it. Lights come on here at Bear Field. And here's a pitch to Wheeler. That's low, ball 1. Count goes to 1-1. Excuse me. Bears at Wingen on Wednesday. Still battling here to get a split with Anderson. That's ball 2. Count goes to 2-1. Base is still loaded for Anderson. They've pushed one across on a walk. Count 2-1 here to Olivia Wheeler. And Morgan pulled the string. Wheeler reached out and made some contact. And the count's 2-2. Morgan looks into the dugout, checks the wristband. Wheeler's showing bunt. Be hard to believe. Bases loaded and 1 out, but fouls that one off. Count stays at 2-2. Morgan will go at it again. Here's the pitch. And there's a shot just foul, and boy, catches the third base umpire. He's trying to jump out of the way, and I guess the ball hit the bag and hit him anyway. Well, it didn't hit the bag, or it would have been a hit, but must have just turned the way he wasn't expecting it. And the count remains 2-2. Morgan Beeler fighting here for us. And there's a shot to center. That could be a problem. And it's off the fence. That's going to score at least 2. And there's no play at the plate. And the top of the 7th comes back to haunt the Bears again. Game 1, it was Morgan Charter's 2-run home run. And here in game 2, 2-run double by Olivia Wheeler. And Anderson has taken a 7-4 lead. Boy, that's so tough. Battle and fight all day, and you get to the very end and just get a big hit. Of course, it's not over, but that's a tough one there. Still just 1 out. Anderson has runners on second and third. And Gracie Williams at the plate, reached on the air, struck out and walked. 3 runs in for Anderson. And there's a little soft liner. Well, nice play by Mardigan. Or that would have been another run. Just a little floater. Just over Mardigan's head, but she's able to reach out and grab it, and that's out number 2. Doesn't get any easier with Jessica Neto coming to the plate. Scored a run in the 4th. And here's the pitch. That's low, ball one. So Bears trail here 7-4 through Anderson. Anderson ranked 22nd in the country. So they're came as advertised with a .339 team batting average. And they've scored 15 runs here in these two games. Counts 1-1. 2 outs here, top of the 7th. And there's one off Morgan's glove, but she'll be able to make the play at first, and that's out number 3. So Anderson's retired, but not before putting 3 runs on the board and taking a 7-4 lead as we head into the bottom of the 7th. You're listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bear Sports Network, sponsored by MBA Roofing. We'll be right back.
I'm Rob with Center Street Eats. We're located at 2250 North Center Street in Viewmont. We offer fast dine-in and carry-out service. Usually your prepared meals at lunch from 11 to 3 are ready within 5 minutes. Center Street Eats also offers prepared meals and snacks, protein bars, smoothies, and so much more. We can accommodate most allergy restrictions and can adjust our weekly menu to comply with the most current trending diets like keto and paleo. Street Eats has helped fuel the sports programs at Lenoir-Rhyne for over 10 years now. We work with every program on campus, and we look forward to working with them again.
And we're back. Bottom of the 7th inning. Bears have some work to do as they trail 7-4 here to Anderson. My partner, Maylee Canellis, and I had to go to the sweatshirts here late because it has cooled down dramatically. Thanks again to Maylee for getting us on the air and keeping us on today. Does a great job, and I don't do anything but keep a scorebook and try to keep up with the game. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hadn't been the best day for the Bears, but still got 3 outs to go, so it's not over yet. There's 2-1 count. Lakin Maxwell in the circle. She's in line to get the win, but it hadn't been a stellar performance by any stretch. And there's a bobble ball, and the Bears get a base runner. I'm going to say E5. We'll see what the scoreboard says. And I think they concur. Regardless, the Bears have a base runner here in the bottom of the 7th. Trailing by 3. Here's a pitch from Maxwell. That's off the plate, ball 1. Eight hits and 5 walks Maxwell's given up today. But once again, the Bears have been troubled by runners left on base. 10 in this game. 15 runners left on base in game 1. So an 8-6 loss in game 1 after leaving 15 runners on base, and down 7-4 here with 10 runners left on base. And I think if we were to lose this one, Coach Holler and the Bears are going to look back and say, got to get some timely hits. We needed some timely hits. Maxwell looks in, counts 2-2 to Addison Blair. And there's a shot, just foul. Boy, that was close. Just got to the bag and went foul. Like it might have been. That had been an infield single. There's no way they were going to get her at first. But Blair steps back in. She's gotten some nice work today. Unfortunate circumstances as she came in for Laura Beth Wood, who looked to seem like she hurt her wrist on a play in the field back in the second inning. But Blair's done a good job at first base. And been patient to play. She's drawn a couple of walks. She's ahead in count 3-2 here. Lauren Rake stands at first. Here's the pitch to Blair. And she fouls it back our way to stay alive. Might have been ball 4, but can't gamble too much. Here's a pitch. 3-2, no outs. And Blair fouls another one back. Like I said, she's extended some bats here today and drawn a couple of walks. We'll take base runners however we can get them at this point. Maxwell looks at the wristband. And she steps off the rubber. She'll step back home. There's been a few times in this game that it's taken a while for Maxwell and the dugout to get on the same page. Blair fouls another one back. Count remains 3-2. Another base runner sure would help. As Blair steps in. And there's strike 3. She had a good cut. Got a little piece of it, but Lorena was able to hang on. And that's out number 1 here in the bottom of the 7th. Leanna Sherrill steps in. She's had herself today. Senior from Statesville, North Carolina. And fouls that one back. Homered in the second, 2-run blast. Had RBI double in the 5th. Also had a hit back in game 1. And for the most part, done a very good job at second base. So she's been a leader for the Bears today, but quickly now in the count 0-2. Kendall Osborne would be next. However, looks like there potentially would be a pinch hitter. Byers asking for a couple of balls for his little side pouches. And Sherrill steps back in. Counts 0-2. Is 1 out. Lauren Rake stands at first. Bears trail 7-4. It's late. Bottom of the 7th. That one might make the sand volleyball court. And it does. Most people weren't out there today. It's usually pretty active on nice days late in the spring semester. Here's a pitch from Maxwell. And just past third base, she's got another hit. And the Bears now with runners on first and second. And it is, in fact, Kaylee Travis who will pinch hit for Kendall Osborne. One away, bottom of the 7th. Bears trail by 3, but they've got runners on first and second. And Kaylee Travis coming to the plate. Her first at-bat of the day. And she takes ball 1. It's like I said, Maxwell's still in it, but she's had runners every inning. And multiple runners in all innings but 1. but has battled through all those and has a 7-4 lead here. As Kaylee Travis would like to change that. Senior from Conover. Here close in Catawba County, and there's strike one. Don't forget Bears at Wingate on Wednesday. Those game times, 1 o'clock start. And then hosting Mars Hill next Saturday. That doubleheader scheduled for 2 o'clock first pitch. But still got some business to do here. Time running low. The Bears still fighting. And there's ball 3. So Travis has been able to work count full. And she steps in to face Lake and Maxwell. Full count and 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th. And stays alive, fouls it back. Lauren Rakes at second. Leanna Sherrill at first. And Kaylee Travis trying to keep this rally going. And fouls another one back. She's making Maxwell work for it, as well she should. And a 3-2 count. Here's a pitch from Maxwell. And a swing and a miss. So second strikeout of the inning for Maxwell. Her 5th of the game. And we head to the top of the order, Savannah Moorfield. Moorfield tripled in the 4th. Was also hit by a pitch in the 2nd. And there's a little slow roller to 3rd. She's not going to be able to get Moorfield. And Lauren Rakes heads up play, comes in and scores. Nice job, Lauren. And a little infield hit by Savannah Moorfield, pushes a run across. And Lauren Rakes scores to make the score now 7-5. Runner's still on first and second. All of a sudden, you realize Bears are down 2. They have 2 on with their 2, 3, and 4 hitters coming up. Of course, there are 2 outs, but I mean, if you want to be in a part of the lineup to try to make a rally, this is it. Here's a pitch to Hannah Jennings, and that's a strike. 7-5 the score. Bears still battling. Fell behind by 3 runs in the 7th inning in game 1. Battled back and got 1 run back. They have a chance. They've already gotten 1 here. Still have a chance to get this game tied or win it. 1-1 to count, 2 outs. Jennings fly ball to left. That's going to hang up there. Will the wind play any with it? Will not. And that's your ball game. So the Bears take a couple of heartbreaking losses today. Lost both games in the top half of the 7th. And you don't want to lose regardless, but those are going to sting, I believe. And we'll hope that the young ladies can come back on Wednesday as they travel to Wingate. We're glad you joined us today. I want to thank Malik Ellis for keeping us on the air and doing what he does. And we will sign off and be with you next Saturday as the Bears host Mars Hill. I'm Joe Smith. You've been listening to Lenoir-Rhyne Softball on the Bears Sports Network. Bears lose a pair here to Anderson, 8-6 and 7-5. Bears fall to 22-9, 7-3 in the conference. Anderson now 22-4 and 5-1. So, once again, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good evening. Good night.